I'm just going to get right into this one. This one's going to be a remake video of another video I made on a cracked John Deere hood. The hood on this mower is actually in a lot worse shape than the hood was on that previous mower video. What I want to show you is a better product that I've started using to repair these hoods. This product can actually make these hoods stronger than they were when they were new. To fill in the broken pieces or missing pieces on this hood, I've actually got a second hood here that I'm going to use as a donor hood to cut these pieces out of. If this sounds like something you want to know more about, welcome to the Bald Eagle 242 YouTube channel. Stick around and I'm going to show you how to repair this thing. So you start with this little bracket here, because even if you're going to replace this hood, if these little tabs are broken off the bottom of your hood here, so this will be strong enough to hold either your repaired hood back on here or a brand new top if you choose to go that route. Went ahead and pulled that piece out there, and this does fit right in here. Take these little Dremel bits. I'm going to cut this out in a little V just so I can give the material that I'm going to stick down in here a place to sit. All you're trying to do here is just create a little low spot. Alright, now this is going to be the star of the show, and this is made by a company called KOVERBOND, and I did work out a discount code for you guys, so if you use the link down in the video description and use the coupon code BALDEAGLE242 when you purchase it through their website. This product works with a lot of different materials: motorcycle flarings, car plastic bumpers. If you read on the back here, it says this works on plastic, fiberglass, wood, MDF, OSB, aluminum, metal sheet, glass, ceramic, and more. So it's a very versatile product. First, this comes with a little piece of sandpaper, a little utility razor blade, a little scooper for scooping out this material, and then this is one of two components to make this work. You've got two of these that come in this little package when you buy this, and then you've got the instant activator that works in connection with this. This is like a plastic nylon that you can use to reinforce this repair. I've had this product now for almost a year, and I'll tell you what, I'm impressed. I like to take another product called Prep All or Prep Clean, so anytime I'm going to be doing any painting, any kind of stuff where you're going to stick something together, you've seen me use this in other videos. What I'll do here is I'll take the razor blade that they set with this, and I'm just going to cut a small little slit. Alright, and then when you open this up, this is a powder, almost looks like gunpowder. Take your little spoon, fits right down in here, but put that right on there and just get it down into that little groove that we ground out. We'll put that over the top of this, and then I'll trim off the excess here on the edge. And then what I'll do is I'll take a little bit more of this and just sprinkle this on top of here. Once you get that powder on there, just put a few drops on here until you saturate this material. It's not really a mix like 50-50. It's just until it's completely saturated. And we can drill that hole back out if we fill that hole. You'll see it start to smoke. It actually heats up and starts to melt into that plastic. Pretty neat stuff. Alright, and then literally just a few seconds after we put that on there, even with just one side, that thing is already hardened up. That piece will never break again. I went ahead and filled that in there. What I'm going to do now is take this hood off of the mower, flip it up on its side, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of this. Put a little bit of the fiber down in there. Alright, and then I'll put a little piece of mesh in there to help reinforce this. And I'm going to go right back over the top of that, just to completely embed that material or fabric down in there, or that mesh. You can actually smell it melting down into the plastic. Once you get that to where you want it, I did take some of that material and fill in around here. We got that hole drilled back out so it's ready for the bolt. At this point, I want to show you how I'm going to take the pieces from another hood to repair this monstrosity. And before I really get into that, I do want to let you know, I understand not everybody has a donor hood, but hopefully if you cracked your hood, you saved all the pieces, or hopefully the pieces aren't completely broken off so that you do have those pieces to use. Using a second hood is kind of a last resort. I'm going to go through this pretty quick, but I'll show you the things that you need to know in case you want to do this yourself. So let's get started. I went ahead and put some masking tape on here, and what this does is this keeps it from breaking and splintering while you're trying to cut on it. Just kind of helps hold it together. And then with your hood still upside down, I'll take this piece and put it underneath there. And then what I'll do is I'll take my marker and outline this hood where we want to cut. And we're actually going to cut a little bit farther back this way than what we actually need. And then I did tape both sides of this. And what I'll use, just a simple jigsaw, and turn your speed down about as low as you can go. If you go too fast, it'll get hot, and it'll actually start melting this plastic. So keep that down around a 1 or a 2. And we're just going to get out of here. And after you kind of get a general cutout, you can be a lot more precise if you're working with a smaller piece. That should do it. I went ahead and cut this other piece out here on this side. This is just taped in here. We'll trace this out. And again, this works out great just to cut a small piece out. I just went ahead and cut that corner out there down the side of that thing so it was easier to work with. And that should get us the last piece of this puzzle we need. Then once you get that all taped in there where you need it at, flip this over. And we'll start working our magic here on the bottom. You want to get all this tape off the bottom here so that we can expose this open crack here. I'm going to use the Plastics 27 here on the bottom to give this strength. And then we're going to flip it over and we'll actually finish the top. We're just going to grind out a little valley here. I'm actually going to take a DA sander, but if you've just got a small crack, the little piece of sandpaper that comes with the Plastics 27 kit works perfectly fine for this. Once you get that all ground out and sanded down, go ahead and fill in all these cracks. Now that I've got that stuff down in the crack, I went ahead and cut some more pieces of the mesh. Now what I'll do is go back over the top of this and embed that down in there in the fiber, and that will make this darn near impossible to break. It'll probably break somewhere else. This should really reinforce this hood to where it won't be a problem. Once the Plastics 27 sets up on the other side, go ahead and flip this thing back over so we're working on the top now. There will be some of this masking tape that's going to stick to this hood where that stuff ran through the crack. You don't need to worry about that because the top of this hood, we're going to sand off almost the entire top surface of this before we prime it and paint it. Once you get all that tape off of there, this is what we're left with on the top side here. You can take your Prep-All or a product like Goo Gone or something like that, and you can get this cleaned off pretty well so it doesn't gum up your sandpaper. And unlike acetone or some mineral spirits, it will not do damage to the plastic. I originally wasn't planning on pulling these stickers off, planned on blending the paint in here, but after seeing this crack, how it didn't really line up good, I need to do a lot more sanding on that. So went ahead and completely removed that sticker so that we can really work on finishing these up so they'll be a lot easier to blend in. And I'll just put a brand new sticker on the side of this here. The filler will fill in a lot of these cracks so that you don't see them. Sand these down so that they're as level as possible. That way it will keep your filler thin. The thicker that is, generally the more likely it is to crack. So you want to try to keep this filler as thin as possible, and you can do that by sanding down and getting these cracks as level as possible before we even start using the filler. So one thing you can do here when you're working on something like this, as much as you can visually see that, take your fingers and feel it too. And you can feel more than your eyes will pick up on, and make sure that that is good and smooth. At this point, this is what we've got now. And on this side here, I'm going to leave the sticker on here. We'll mask this off before we spray anything on it. That way we only have to replace one sticker on here. All right, next thing we're going to use to finish this or fill in the cracks so we don't see them is another product by KOVERBOND called KOVERBOND. And this is body filler for bumpers and plastics. It actually works on quite a bit of stuff. This is 2 parts where you mix this in. Once you mix this up, you've got a limited amount of time to work with it, so don't mix too much at one time. The set time on this, 20 to 25 minutes before you can actually sand it. And one thing I'll say that does not come with this kit, you do need some kind of spreader. You want to apply good firm pressure so that you force out any air pockets and make sure that this material gets down in there as much as it possibly can to promote good adhesion to the surface. Something else you want to do on the hardener is knead this or mix this up. Just take your tube and work that back and forth before you start mixing it with the base material. I'm actually going to mix this up and start on this crack right here on the front of this hood, simply because it's the only one that doesn't go all directions, and then we'll go ahead and start working on the rest of this. And I'm just going to mix up a small amount at a time, get this stuff good and mixed up here before I start blending it together. And this is just an old cracked paint tray, and I'm just going to use the bottom of it to mix this up on. Got the consistency of peanut butter. And you want to mix this up until that blue color is completely gone. I think I might need a little bit more hardener in there. And I start out at kind of a high angle and then put a lot of pressure and just pull that across there like that. Now, I am not a professional finisher, so I'm not going to try to get all this edge off of there. I just want the center to be smooth, and I'll sand that off. And I should have left some room underneath there so I didn't get on that lift. Got it. Still got some mixed up here, so I'll get some of these cracks here on the side. Like I said, you want to apply good firm pressure, like you're trying to force it down into that crack. Starting to set up a little bit on me, so I'll quit while I'm ahead here. Before I go ahead and mix up another coat, I'll go ahead and sand this coat smooth, and then we'll mix up another coat and do the rest of this. Alright, went ahead and mixed up another batch there. Go ahead and sand this off one more time, and I think we can probably get away with one more coat to fill in all the low areas. Right, I think this should be the last coat. Did go ahead and mix this one up on a drywall scraper because that paint tray had rounded edges and it was not real easy to get your material off your scraper. So hopefully this will be the last coat. I'll give you a quick once over here, and then I'll give you some tips on painting this after we look at it here a little bit. But got this all finished up, got all the pieces embedded down in there and finished. Got this sanded. We will put a new sticker here on this side. The other side here, I did mask this sticker off, so we'll spray around this, remove the tape. That sticker should still be fine. And we got all the cracks filled in, and pretty much everything is smooth to the touch. May look streaky, but it actually feels really smooth. At this point, I'll go ahead and spray a thin coat of primer.
Hey, what happened?
Alright, I really don't know what happened with this Rust-Oleum bonding primer, but once it's dried, it looks like a dry riverbed. I'm just going to go ahead and sand this out and move on. On the main hood, I was using 120 grit paper. This is a 220. When you get to the point that you're ready to start spraying some paint on this hood or any implement that you're trying to paint, you've got a few options. If this is a one and done project for you and you're not going to do it ever again, just get a JD green, spray it, and you're done with it. If this is a larger project or you've got a few of these that you need to repair, at that point, I'd recommend going with a spray gun. A couple different kinds here. You can literally pick these up for less than $20. If you're going to be spraying a lot of paint, this is actually the least expensive way to go because you can buy the quarts for slightly more than what you're going to spend on a couple of the spray cans. You might want to look into doing this, but either way works. The way I like to mix it is I take the Rust-Oleum JD green. They don't call it John Deere green. It's called JD green. Take this paint and acetone. You don't really want to use acetone to wipe down the hood because it does soften the plastic and it will melt the plastic if you leave it on there too long. For that very reason, that makes acetone a good choice. It will actually soften that hood and it will actually bond with the hood, the primer, and the filler. What I like to do, and this is kind of an amateur tip to an amateur, I mix it at about a 50-50 ratio. And the reason I do that is twofold. One is the thinner you mix it, the less likely it is to run because when you put a lot of acetone in here, it evaporates very quickly. And two, you're less likely to get orange peel in your paint finish than you are with like a spray can or if you mix this stuff a lot thicker. If you read the can, nowhere does it tell you to mix this 50-50. It always tells you to mix it a lot less than that. It will dry very quickly and you will have to turn the pressure down very low on your spray gun and you're going to have to put multiple coats on it if you do that. Sometimes 3, 4, maybe 5 coats depending on how fast you spray and how comfortable you are laying it down with a thin product. Alright, so about 7 ounces there. I'll mix this up to about 14. Close enough. Take a paint stick or something and stir this up really well. And what I like to do as a last step, whenever I'm painting something, is pour it through a paint filter. So if there's anything in here, we'll filter it out. When you're spraying paint, even the primer, make sure you wear a respirator. Make sure you've got plenty of ventilation and you're protecting your health here. I've got my air compressor set on 20 PSI, which is pretty low, and I'll make the fine-tune adjustments here on the gun itself. When I first set up a gun, I like to take a piece of cardboard or something before I spray it on the product I'm going to be working on and just see where my pattern's at and double check my pressure. So I got my pressure set up on here. Now we're going to get at it. if you have masked off any stickers, go ahead and pull the tape off of them while the paint is still tacky so you don't tear the paint. You let this dry and get hard, sometimes it'll catch the edge of that paint and you'll actually rip the paint off with the sticker. So do this while it's still tacky. And then if you mask that off really well, you should be able to save that sticker there with no problem. Then on this side, I did buy a aftermarket sticker. Guys, I'll tell you what, if you buy these aftermarket stickers, they're not as good as the original John Deere stickers. So if you can, try to save your originals. When you put these on, this bottom edge goes about a 1/2 inch above this lip right here. Couple other things I didn't show on video here. The headlight on this thing was also broken half. It's broken half right there. I used the Plastics 27 to put the headlight back together. Get the headlights back in the front here, get the top on here, and then I'll show you what we got. Alright, we took a 2003 John Deere GT225 that we picked up on Marketplace for $125 with a severely cracked hood. This project has been a lot of fun. You never truly know what you're getting into until you really get started on these, and in the middle of it you just got to figure out what to do. From the basic headlights to the entire hood, we were able to take two hoods and combine them together to make one very functional hood that looks about as good as it's ever going to look. Guys, if you found this video interesting, I'll post another video right here that you may enjoy. Till next time, thanks for watching.